Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Sunday, the 17th day of April 2022. For some of y'all who are celebrating the Easter holiday, if you want to, if you're celebrating that, happy Easter to you. We, as Hebrews, we don't celebrate that. But if you do, happy Easter to you. I hope you're healthy and safe today. I hope that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, and health are being met. And I hope you're enjoying your weekend in general, no matter who you are and what you believe. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, that are trying every day to save lives, and those that are first responders that do the same, and those that pick up garbage to keep streets, sidewalks, and parks clean, and those that make deliveries for us even on days like today for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are trying to help rescue, deliver the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of child pornography and pornography, and victims of prostitution and child prostitution, the victims of human trafficking and sex slavery. Fortunately, this weekend, a 14-year-old girl, it was right actually before the weekend, she was from Staten Island, and she was snatched by some people from New Jersey. She had been snatched from October, and her father and her family and the police were looking for her. She escaped and got away, and from the human trafficking. They were going to traffic her and prostitute her, and they did actually for a little while before she escaped. But fortunately, she got away. If you happen to see anything unusual like that out there, maybe a young person, usually some young person with an older person don't look right, make note of it. Maybe contact somebody. You don't know. You might be saving a life. Anyway, interesting situation this weekend. So it was reported by Mark Berman that the Knicks brass were in Dallas. Worldwide West, Allen Houston was down there and watching the Dallas-Utah game. Obviously, there is interest from the Knicks purportedly in Jalen Brunson as well as in Donovan Mitchell. And that series can be very important as to how that develops. And from what Mark reported, some people made it seem like Julius Randle went down there with them. No, he didn't. He was down there aside from them. It's like, you're going somewhere and you and your girl breaking up, and she don't expect to see you. You don't expect to see her, and you see her there with somebody else, and she sees you there, and it's a little awkward situation, right? That's what that was. I think Julius was down there because he wants to go to the Mavericks. And I think the Knicks were down there because they want to look at Jalen Brunson and possibly Donovan Mitchell much closer. Now, I mentioned to y'all, and I think a lot of y'all agree from your comments. I think most people agree. Jalen Brunson, solid point guard, but he is not an $80 million point guard. Okay, he is not. Even in today's salary structure where $20 million isn't what it was 5 years ago, it's still $20 million. And if you're comparing Jalen Brunson to Emmanuel Quickley and Deuce McBride, even if you thought Jalen Brunson was better, he is not so much better that you're going to pay, the difference between $4 million for those two kids and $20 million for him. He is not that much better than the two kids. He's not 14 times, 13 times better than those two kids, right? Just logically. All right. So I hope they don't sign Jalen Brunson. I hope they're not going down there with the express purpose of being prepared to write a contract for $80 million for Jalen Brunson. I hope that that's not the case. Emmanuel Quickley and Deuce McBride in my opinion, need to be given the autonomy to develop. That means no competition from some other guard, some other veteran, some other rookie, some other point guard. Just them two competing for the point guard spot in the minutes. That's all you need, with Derrick Rose mentoring them. That's all they need. We don't need, and remember y'all, you see, we are not winning the championship next year. It's year 3 of the rebuild. This is when you play your deuces and your IQs. This is where you find out what you have. It's not going to kill the Knicks to find out what they have in those two kids for this season. They're not going to be a disaster. That's why they were drafted. They're not going to be a disaster. Did you see Tyrese Maxey drop 38? in the playoffs for Philly. Now, I'm not necessarily saying IQ can do that, but I daggone sure know that he's very close to that. Like him and Maxey are 1A and 1B. Okay? And Maxey really wasn't looked upon as a point guard coming out of Kentucky either. And again, I don't think IQ is really a natural point guard. And like I said, let me just reiterate this again. The reason he's not a natural point guard is because a natural NBA point guard, first of all, they're not made, they're born. Did you hear what I said? They're not made, they're born. Okay? What do I mean by that? A natural point guard sees the whole floor, just he uses his peripheral vision naturally. He just does it. Okay? One of my kids is like that. I mean, she's not a point guard, but since she was little, she's always like looked with her peripheral vision everywhere. Just can see everything in the room, and always from when she was little, use her peripheral point guards do that too. They could just use their peripheral vision, see the whole floor. They see cats that are going to be open, and the best point guards can anticipate it and get them the basketball. Quick is trying, but it's just not his natural thing. He watches Obi because he know Obi's going to be running the floor. But in terms of general terms, seeing the floor, he doesn't do that good, but it's okay. It's okay because he's a threat to score. His jump shot can be fired if he's, getting in a rhythm. He does make bad mistakes, because he's not a natural point guard, but he can win you some basketball games. To me, that's the most important thing. He could win us some basketball games. And Deuce is a natural point guard. Deuce is a natural point guard. So you got both of them, right? I don't need to see another player. I don't need to talk to nobody else. We drafted both of these kids. Let's play them, right? And let's see what we have. And then you can make an evaluation. You can make an evaluation at the midpoint of the season, at the All-Star break. If you want to make a trade, you can make an evaluation at the end of the season. But you got to see what you have. See? So I don't want us locking up a guy like a Jalen Brunson for 4 years, $80 million. And that's number one. But I'm really thinking that if Brunson plays like the other night, he scored 24. He was 9 of 24 from the field. So he was putting up a lot of shots. But he's being aggressive. I guess you could look at it that way. But I'm thinking like, if that's the case, I really want to think that Dallas is going to do their best to sign him. And I think that had a lot to do with the Kristaps Porzingis trade. That they were trying to create a situation where they can create more space and not overpay and pay Brunson if they needed to. And I'm thinking that that's probably what they're going to do. It depends on how badly Brunson wants to come to New York. And I don't know that answer, but I do know, if you looked at Dallas, very few players that have gone into the Dallas Mavericks organization want to leave. I mean, you always have your exceptions, but generally speaking, that's like a real family situation. People like Dallas as a city. I've been there once. I think I've been there once, but it was a nice city. Dallas is a nice city. And from what I've heard, players enjoy being in Dallas. It's not too big, not too small. And not only that, the organization led by a Cuban is a whole lot different than any other organization, and that Cuba's really involved with the players on a personal level. He has signed dudes to contracts just to help get money. He has done that. Okay. So that creates a real good atmosphere on the organization coming from the top, literally. So a lot of guys like playing in Dallas. And so I can see him wanting to stay there. Why would he leave? He loves it there. Coming to New York would be an advantage if the Knicks were going to give him more money than Dallas was going to give him. That would be an advantage. So in other words, if Dallas decided we're not going to give you 80, we think you're worth 60, which is probably realistic. And New York said, no, we'll give you the 80. He's coming to New York, period. Right? But the good thing, again, for those of us concerned about this, Don is not going to overpay. You guys know that, right? Leon Rose is not overpaying for anybody. I mean, unless they're a championship piece. And I don't consider Brunson more of a championship piece than Deuce and IQ. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're comparing needs because that's what we're dealing with. So I would really focus on Deuce and IQ and putting time into seeing what they have in their development. Remember now, IQ would only be going into his 3rd season and Deuce in his 2nd season. So let's see what they have, before we start looking to spend $80 million, and on a guy that really is a good, solid pro, solid point guard, but he's not an all-star, right? He's not an all-star. I mean, if I'm going to upgrade at the point guard position from the 2 guys I have, what I'm looking for is either an all-star or a guy with all-star potential, like Jaden Ivey. If I was going to upgrade, and he's not even a point guard either, but if I got a chance to get Jaden Ivey, I may have to do something there. You see what I mean? I may have to do something there. Okay. Or if a proven all-star level dude, like a Kyle Lowry or Fred VanVleet or CP3 wanted to come to New York, now we could talk about it. You see? But that's not Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's a solid NBA point guard who has spent most of his career coming off the bench. Okay, so I'm not going to overpay or pay $80 million for Jalen Brunson, solid as he is, when I already got two kids that I drafted who I got to find out about. Okay, some of y'all really, some of y'all acting like you Jalen Brunson's cousin or you're his agent, man, pushing all his virtue. I'm not saying the guy can't play. He can. But I'm saying so can Deuce. I'm saying so can Emmanuel Quickly. I'm saying we drafted them and we're only paying $4 million combined for their salaries. Let's see what we got. Okay, let's see what we got. That's all I'm saying. But it was interesting that the contingent of Worldwide West, Allen Houston, who else was there? I don't think Leon was there, but West, Houston, and somebody else was there. Let's see. Wait. Let me just see. Wait. Yeah, it was, who was it? It was, Mark Berman, of course, reported. William Wesley. They just said a contingent. William Wesley. I know, Houston was there. Oh, Ndiaye. Yeah. Mokhtar Ndiaye was there with them. They're all, Knicks brass. And then, of course, Julius Randle was there. But it's unclear if Randle was invited. I don't think he was. I think he was there because he's from Dallas. And he probably likes Dallas. And he wouldn't mind playing for Dallas. I don't know. The logical thing that most people would say is that, okay, we sign and trade Brunson for Randle. And that makes logical sense if you thought Brunson was worth $20+ million, which I don't. So, if we were going to make a trade with Dallas, I don't know who we'd be taking. I have to look. Who is their expiring contracts? Hold on. Let's see. Dallas expiring deals. Let's take a look at that. Expiring. Yeah, I want to see who's expiring contracts on Dallas, man, because that's what I want to look at, because I'm not trying to overpay for these cats, man, when we already got what we need. So let's see who's expiring. Looks like Spencer Dinwiddie's expiring. I know some of y'all like him. I don't. But let's say this Spencer Dinwiddie's expiring. And he's making, what is he making? His base salary is $17 million. I think he's got one more year left at $17 million. Hey, see something like that? I would do that. I just don't want him getting in the way. I don't want Tibbs getting in the way, letting this guy get in the way and of our two kids, because you know how our coach is. But yeah, so we got and Tim Hardaway Jr. is expiring, but he just signed an extension, so that's that. Yeah, I don't want Davis Bertans, he's expiring, but he was getting paid $16 million a year. This guy. Oh my gosh. Washington was stupid there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we had looked at Bertans for when we were looking at shooting fours as free agents. And yeah, he was a part-time guy, and he's actually still got 3 more years on his contract. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. So yeah, there's really, I don't know. I looking at Dinwiddie is probably the only guy. Maybe a combination of Dwight Powell with, Dwight Powell and somebody else. We'll figure it out. I don't know. But Frank Ntilikina, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, and I don't want no hate for Frank on my channel. I'm going to tell you right now, y'all throw the hate up there, I'm going to ban you. I'm not trying to hear that. I don't find it funny. I still like Frank, even though I realistically know he's injury prone. But anyway, yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know who we trade. It had to be a 3-way trade, because who I really want for Randle, no matter what team Randle ends up going to, I want I want Harrison Barnes. I want Harrison Barnes. He is perfect. He's expiring. He's expiring, and he is a forward, and he can back up Obi. And I'm really looking for a guy like Harrison Barnes. I would love to have Harrison Barnes in that trade, a 3-way deal, whatever kind of way they had to do it, and let Randle go to Dallas, and let Dallas send somebody to the Kings, and let us get Harrison Barnes. I would like that. I think that would be good. I think that would be a good move for us. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Randle was down there because he's from Dallas. And Dye, Worldwide West, in Houston was down there because they scouting them 2 point guards. So let's see what happens. Let's see how this unfolds. It's going to be an interesting series. Like I said, Utah really should win this series. Okay. But look, even if Utah does what's expected and wins the series, if they get taken out in the second round, I still think Mitchell might be looking at New York because he can see the writing on the wall. In other words, they can't get over the hump. They're in that position as an NBA team where you get to a certain level with the players you have drafted and developed, and you just can't get no higher, and you're not getting the superstar because I don't think big time superstars don't want to come to Utah. So that being the case, I still think even if they win in the first round, it's really the second round that you want to pay attention to. They should be Dallas. But if they don't win the second round, and if they don't look good in the second round, like they don't take it to 7 games or they lose in 5, watch for Donovan Mitchell in that scenario. Watch for him. See, so the first round series is important, but not as important as the second round because I'm expecting Utah to win this. I think they're going to win this series in 6 games. I really, if this series goes 7 games, I don't know. But I think they're going to win it 4 games to 2. At the least, I think. It may even be better than that. I think because they're just that much better than Dallas. But Dallas actually surprised. It's because of Luka Doncic they got this far. But, if they get a healthy Tim Hardaway back and they got Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a good bench piece, and then you add one more player of note to that crew, like Julius Randle, I think they'll be pretty good. So we'll see what happens. But it was interesting that the crew came down there and was watching those 2 guys. And it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds as we move forward. Anyway, you and Knicks Nation, enjoy yourselves today. Be safe out there. And we'll talk to you later. Shalom.